Okay, hey guys, Sam back with you here. It's middle of the day, September 27th. We're doing traditionals as it's a Thursday, and by request amongst the members is an update on the S&P 500. So I have here's the daily chart for the S&P 500. This is the ES1. This is the continuous contract with the front month. So we're looking at December futures here. So now I've done a full analysis of this. Recently, within the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to spare us going through the entire wave count. I'm just going to work from this low. This is the 2016 election, so this is the Trump run. Now, it's pretty hard to argue with this as a 3-4, and we're approaching a completion of this 5-wave cycle at some point up here. I'm not calling a top. That's not what I'm doing. I do have some technical targets up here that we want to pay attention to. Nothing crazy, right? Just simple stuff. Just taking the length of the third, right? So here we get a little confluence here. So length of the third. Here's our 4 went to the 38 to the tick, and we're driving up here. Now it looks like we have an ending diagonal underway here. As this of this fifth, we have potential. This is our 1, 2, 3. We've had the overlap in the 4, which seems to suggest it's consistent with the pattern that we're seeing from the 2 here. We get an ABC into the 3, so it looks more like an ending diagonal is underway. At least at this point, this is certainly subject to being recounted should this just continue to roll. So there's one obvious target. Then the other thing we can do, we could take the length of the 1 wave projected from our 4 low. So we get our second box here. Here's the 1618. All right, so we have a few targets up here that are right around, we'll call it that 3,000, 3,100, and then 3,200, 3,300 up in that range. So we have some technical targets that are up there. But really, what I wanted to focus on today was how good the swing trading has been in here recently. So we have for those of you that are on YouTube that aren't aware, or even some of the members that are just so crypto focused, we do have a very active day trading channel where we're focused almost exclusively on the S&P 500 and trading intraday. So we don't hold anything overnight, thus reducing the margin requirements. But I wanted to show you this both with regards to things that could be done intraday, as well as if you're a swing trader and you have the margin to be able to hold contracts overnight, that there has been some remarkably technical trading here, which is, something to consider when I go through this here as we are approaching potentially now the 5th wave. We are in the 5th wave of this impulsive structure. It's not surprising. That's why you often will find diagonals as we finish a wave count, as you have this volatility, as there's a fight to sustain the trend. So we look here and we go, all right, interest rates are going up. It's been one hell of a run. So, looking a little top heavy. But let's break it down. So if we allow for this, the idea that this off of the election low here, we've got an impulsive wave structure here. So I'm going to go down to the 1 hour here, where I think this shows up rather nicely. All right, so let me back up here. All right, so here's the. Well, this is kind of hard to do. Actually, let me go. Pardon me. Let me go to a 3 hour so I can at least get you centered on where we are. So here's that wave 4. Here's the wave 4 low here hitting the 38 right here. So we have a truncation in the C. Right, so this is our third, the big third top, right? So A, we come down A, B, C into the B, and then we come down for the C. We don't get a new low here, but we do have a good 5-wave structure coming down. So then from that, right? So here's where it's we're based off of what we're seeing now, the fact that we have this extension. It would appear that I've got a 1, 2, A, B, C into a 3. Now, given that the reason I go to that is because I've overlapped the 1. So first thing you got to look at and say, well, let's make sure. Now let's just be sure that the length of the third is longer than the 1. So we don't quite make the 272. Now I'm going to take this off because that's not relevant to where we're going here. So I do have this ABC structure in here, which implies that this is much more likely a diagonal that's underway. So from that, I get an A, a B, and a C. So with the overlap, so we're looking for in a diagonal, we're always looking for a technical pivot from the start of the 1 wave through the pivot of the 3rd wave. right? Well, here it's a strong market, so we don't quite make the 50. Ideal place for that is right at the 50, but note we get this little air pocket here. So volume profile shows us we don't have market acceptance here. We do here, right? So you can see all this trading here, buys and sells, buys and sells. Market's very happy right here. So there's our point of control. Now we're pushing higher. So, you know, where is it? So you look here and you say, did they use that? What'd they use, right? It's always a battle to say what'd they use. Well, here's the 50 to the tick. So that's just using the length of the third, right? You got to check them all, right? We know we want to check this one. That's 38. From the 2 to the 3, we get 50, and so algos as usual, right? Get theirs. Okay, so we have a potential count that's underway. Well, we've had now this extension here in the 5th, and it would appear that I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into a one wave. So wicking that off as I would any one wave. So let's get that right on there. So the potential, so it had this. Where's my 5 up here? This had the potential to look really good right there, right? So that would have had very nice symmetry. We would have been shallow. We would have been essentially double topping, but as relates to this, right? So you can see it here. So again, if I draw that up, you say, well, if that's the 3, 4, and 5, well, here's the pivot. This would have been interesting. Here's second target, but we keep rolling, right? So that somewhat interesting here. So from this 4, now it looks like we go 1, 2. Now we've had a short 3. So you would see that if this is going to play this way, the extension now is in the 1. So this lack of, this contraction is what I want to say. This contraction of the length of these waves is suggesting the possibility of topping action. And again, I'm not calling the top in the S&P. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying right here, this looks like top-heavy action, right? We're not too far from the pivot high, so I'm not ready to call the top in just yet, right? And we really wouldn't until we saw a pretty substantial move down, and then we caught the first 50 on the way back that went to target. Then potentially you have an A/B going in. But just looking here now. If this is an extension in the 1, if this is the 3rd, well, we're getting a little top heavy here because we're running out of room for this to go, unless this is all going to get recounted and this is going to be A, B, C, and this is all going to roll up. So in that case, this would roll up here. This would be the 3rd. Then the 5 is still to come. So we still have a diagonal. Oh, pardon me. Maybe we would not. So look here, because this holds this to the tick. So we'd have 1, 2, and then 1, 2 yet again, but most likely here, because that looks like that's technical. So this could be 1, 2, 1, 2, and that implies much higher prices yet still to come. So this pivot is going to be interesting to watch. All right, so let's now I'm going to go from the 3 hour down to the 1 hour because there was just such good examples here. I wanted to show this to you. So right now the implication is that there's still more to come, right? Because we have these big targets up here, right? So all of this could still yet be to come. We don't know. This is a candidate here that something has completed here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into my 5th. So I have a contender here for a top. I do. I mean, nothing more than a contender, but all of the subdivision is there. Now, we do have to check this. So we have to take the length of the 3rd and check. Get it right on there. Okay, so so the reason I do that is so I can measure, so I can see that right now the first wave, the proposed first wave, is the longest wave. So I've got to check the length of the 3rd relative to the 5th. So this invalidates, if we come up here and get this, then we invalidate this count, because at that point the 5th is longer than the 3rd, and we can't have that, so we'd have to recount it. So this would be 1, 2, most likely. Well, this could be 1, 2, A, B, C into the 3rd. That could be our 3rd, and then we come down. Although the fact that I have 5 here, I like that less, because if I've got a diagonal going, then I'm looking for ABCs. But so this could be 1, 2. 1, 2 again. I mean, there's a couple of different ways this could be counted, but I can definitely get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this. So if I label this, so 1, it could be here. Let's go with that. So we go 3, 4, 5. So let's get that. Yeah. Get that down to sub micro. Okay, so that's certainly possible that we have this being our one wave. right? So that's in there, 1, 2. All right, so because I come off of this 4 and I get this nice 5, so I lean into that as my 1 wave here. Now I've gotten sort of choppy here, and this is a diagonal for sure. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it plays better as an ending diagonal to finish this, which would suggest that the top is in the S&P. Not ready to go there just yet. But I did want to open this up to you and just show you as we're approaching it. Now this could be a number of reasons for this, right? So we have the craziness, the political drama going on in the background. We have interest rates going up. So we have some of the conditions where if you were just thinking about it, you know, technician, you know, take your technical hat off and just on the side thinking, all right, what are the conditions like here? Is this supportive of the market just continuing to crank higher? Well, you know, again, I'm not ready to call a top yet, but it is interesting that we're seeing this kind of volatility and very, very technical trading as we approach what potentially is the 5th of the 5th of the 5th. So it just, again, because I'm not ready to go there yet, all we can do is start working through some of these technicals and see how it's playing. So if this 4 is correct, so if I come down here A, B, C into my 4 up to my 5, right? So that gives me my 1 A, B, C into my 2. You know, it's a little tricky, so it looks like that's 1. So again, it looks like it wants to be a diagonal, so that would be 1, 2, 3. So we'd have A, B, C, but it's not there, and we don't overlap. So again, I promise you, this doesn't happen by accident. So we look at the length of that third, and we think, wonder if that was technical. So I'm taking that 2 to the 3. Well, this is very interesting here. So note what happens. We don't overlap here. So you're looking at that going, why is it stopped there? Well, potentially now that's a front run on the 50. Right? So if this is correctly identified as 1, 2, and that's the 3, so potentially that's a front run on the 50, and we didn't get there because of this pivot. Right? So again, this does not happen randomly. So for some reason, that's bought there. Right? So this stays but of course, note what we do, right? So, and then reaction, which is why I'm saying there's a possibility that it's possible that that's a pretty significant top. Now, you know, again, we're not very far away from it, but certainly if you look at the breakdown here, it's possible. All right, so I can't resist this, so we got to at least check this, see how that looks. So we don't make it. So if we're going to get there, if we're going to get there, and I would also check this, although this we'd be looking for the 3rd. So a failure to make the median line implies weakness, which we get there, right? So we get weakness. We don't make it here. And yet again, failure to make the median line implies weakness. Again, I'm not saying the top is in. These are technical observations. So so this is pretty interesting. So from here, so we get from the 2 to the 3, we get a 50. And then now as we work through this, if we have this correctly identified, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, well, we're overlapping the 1, so we have an ending diagonal. Well, let's start measuring some of these pivots. So if I'm looking for an ending diagonal, right, and I've already had a technical pivot up here. If I'm looking for an ending diagonal, I'm taking it from the low here to the 3 here. What do we do? Right to the golden zone. Boom, second target. Well, that's kind of interesting. Well, then if I look here, I'm going to open this up so you can see this better. So we in the day trading room have been trading this and watching this and marveling at this. So pretty good indication of what the market's doing here. So if we come down here, all right, so let's go from our swing low here, because this was technical. This looks interesting. So I'm going to take from my absolute low here to that pivot. What do we get? There's a couple of front run, couple ahead of the 50. I'm going to check the 2, right to the 50. Interesting. I'm going to check the 4. What do we do here? So from dominant swing, remember, algos are looking for dominant swings. We got to check them all to try and see if we can identify what they did. So we go dominant swing to dominant swing. We go 618. Right, so it did this just this morning, right? So So this was overnight. So it checked it. Yes. So this was the big sell-off after the Fed news in the very last half an hour of the day, and including as the market closed, it was straight down. Where's it stop? 618 golden zone. Then in the overnight last night, they went down. They tested it again. Now note here, right? This is a good example. Note this low volume node here. Right? It happens to be right at the golden zone. Interesting, right? So one more tell. All right, so you look here and you say, well, wait a minute, there was something happened here because before the rate hike, the market was screaming higher. Well, there was something happening there. So let's look up here. So if we go swing low, swing high, swing low. So here was the first low. That was the lowest low of the morning. We went up to the 50 reaction. We don't get to target. Now we get the scream high. Then we get the news and then the sell-off. So we go 618. So we've had 618 followed by 618 followed by 618. Do you see it? Right? That's the trade we took in the room this morning. Right? Again, it's not rocket science. So why are we taking that? Well, all we're doing is going from we're watching this pattern. Right? Look how many times we've done this. So if I go here to here, where is it? Here, that's 50 to the tick. So now you look at that and you say, wait a minute. So talk about confluence. Right? So we've got double 50s here. If I go here, I've got 618 on top of the 50. Right? Do you see that? Do you see right here? The 50 and the 618 are on top of each other. What do we do from that, right? So that was 3:30 in the morning. This was after the market closed. This is actually a fairly good example of the way that you know, the little guy gets fucked. We can't take that trade. The market's already closed, right? That's 3:30 in the morning. If you're in the States, you're asleep, so you're not there for that. Algorithm doesn't give a shit. So what do? We go from 618 to 618, tick to tick. Right after we had just done this, one, right? So we've done the 618 repeatedly, right? We had done this one right to the golden zone. I think I'm a little off there. Right, it was just got a hair past the 618, just high enough to run the stops that are sitting just on the other side of the 618. That's why it goes into the golden zone. That's why you have to use the 65. Right, so they run that little stop there that somebody's sitting there going, oh man, they're not getting the 618. Someone's got their stop there. All they do is go up, tag it, and then look at the reaction. And we go, of course, what do? Straight to target. Right, then next bounce. Next bounce from this 618 is to this 618, right? And we're still coming down from that. So I kind of show that to you, right? So we're able to take advantage of this on the day trading side because we're just watching this bounce here. Now, I will tell you this, that this morning I took that 50. I took the 50 on the way back up. That was a loser. So because I took the 50 here, so I took this stop here and then reloaded here on this 618 with a very tight stop. The reason I was able to do that is because the stop is just, I mean, we're about 1.5 away. So our entry was at, I think it was at 31.50. Yeah, it was 31.50, and the stop on the other side of the 65 was 33.50. So you $100 risk, right? And that's still coming down. Right? I mean, I don't know what more evidence I can put. There's nothing more technical than the S&P, although currencies are close. But it's because it's all algo-driven, right? That's all I'm showing. What I'm trying to show you here is that there is not a guy going, oh, now's the time to buy it, right? You don't get that kind of precision. That's only software can do that. But so again, this is the only algorithm that I know that we can identify, that we can track. We can look at its footprints and say, what did it do last? Well, 618. 618, 618. You think the S&P pays attention to that? So how does that fit in with where we are? Well, this is potentially now, if this is a significant pivot up here, well, what do we have happening here? You'd have to count it this way. You'd have to go A, B, C. Right, that's what you'd have to do. So let me clean this up. But remember, we've already had a technical pivot up here. A, B, C into the B. You know, and I'd have to go down to probably a much smaller time frame to dig out 5 out of that, but I can see the 4, 5. So potentially that's A, B, C. So are we just getting started? What's the possibility? So certainly one possibility is on a larger degree, we've just got A before we go B, or you can call it WXY. If you want to do it that way, we could do it that way. So you could say, well, we're trying to connect two ABCs. So if that's A, B going in, pardon me, W. So we get ABC, that's the W. X wave can be very high, right? If you look at the way the current Elliott Wave International Standard has it, they want to see X waves going up to 90% of the length of the W wave, right? So I think that's You know, this wouldn't keep me out of the trade, giving the pattern, nor would the 786. So if this is going to go, if we've gone ABC into a W, then we're looking for an ABC to correct that. So this potentially goes like this, and then we come down to something like that. That certainly is possible. So this just being an A. So if we've done ABC into a W, we're looking for an X. Well, we've gone 618 to the tick, still coming down. So potentially now, so we're looking for a corrective structure. So the X is corrective. So that's possible. It's possible, right? If we have to dig that out, I'm on a 60-minute, but that's also a contender. This is a contender. We might come back up and revisit and double top, right? Revisit that. So there, what I want to see is three-wave structure. So even if I go down to the 15-minute, looks more. Maybe you can get a 2 out of that. That's not going to even be a 50. That looks like a 38. So yeah, so that's a 38. We don't get a 50 out of that. So maybe ABC. Looks more to me like that's the A and the B is coming. So where's the next thing to be watching for? What happens here? Right, 50 and the 618. Right now, the market is going 618 to 618, just tick to tick. So I certainly would be paying attention if we get through the 50. Now, not that doesn't mean that the 50 is the trade to look at. Right, it certainly is. Right, if you have all the right conditions here, I'm on a 15-minute, so this potentially is a day trade. So if you're in this and you have all the right conditions that we talk about and teach in the day trading room, yeah, that's tradable. Vegas wave right there, that's very tradable. But given the pattern here of this consistent ping pong from 618 to 618, I might, it was one of the ways we had trades set up today. So I might have a first initial entry at the 50 and a second at the 618, so you could average down the price between the two. But note here, from that 618, we have just gone straight down. So what you're anticipating next is one of these, right? First trade here, second trade here. Do we get the reaction? Where's the target to that? Pull that off. So this has a target up here. Where would that relate? See if we go all the way back and we say, okay, where would that put us if that target, if we're going to pivot down here? Target's right at the 786. I got no problem with the X wave going to 786. Right? I wouldn't be waiting for the 90 myself. Right? So if we caught this, right? Because I know if I get an algo reaction there, right? I know I'm technical. It's a good spot for an X wave. I've got a target down here. Right? So then we say, okay, let's see if we can put that all together. So let me go back out to a to a 2 hour. Well, where would that put us? Well, the one thing we can definitely consider the possibility here is that I've got a 5-wave structure here. So again, because I'm not ready to call a top in the S&P, right? At the very least, I would say, well, where did that 5-wave structure start? Well, I'm gonna pay attention to that 50. I'm gonna pay attention to that, see if it's got more legs to go. For all we know, that's just the one wave of a larger degree 5th wave. We don't know. No way to know, right? Until we see what kind of what happens. But if we start breaking that, if we break this 65, well, then potentially now we've got a trend change. That's a big if. That's a long way down. But it's just some great examples that we've been watching and trading in the day trading channel, where so we have crypto day trading and we have S&P and we have futures day trading. So my partner Quan, he handles the crypto day trading, and I focus more, just because that's where my history is. I focus more on the futures trading. So you're going to get a little bit of everything over at Trade Devils University within that Discord. So there's a lot of things that we do amongst the members here that we don't show here on YouTube. But this is a way for you to get at least an idea of how we approach the market and get a feel for this methodology, and then make a decision whether or not you want to take a deep dive into it and master it. And I don't know that you ever master it, right? You at least get to a point of proficiency where you're fluid with this, where you know you can quickly identify a primary and an alternate and know where you're wrong, which is really perhaps the most important thing, how to manage the risk of this approach. Right? Because one of the advantages of Elliott Wave is that we have clear indications where we invalidate accounts. So we know for sure, if this happens, then this can't be what's happening. Or if this happens, then I know for sure that I've just confirmed my prior analysis that I do have a 2 based on the fact, or I do have an impulsive structure based on the fact that this one wave doesn't get overlapped. Right? So that's a tell. That's also a tell to me that it's a 4 and not a 1-2-1-2, even though it goes to a 50. All right, well, let's see here. It was a little shy of the 50. So the fact that we hold the 38 and we hold the wave 1 implies that's a 4, which means, so again, there's the technical pivot up here, right? So we look at that and go, well, wait a minute, man, there's a completed 5-wave structure into an algo target. It's possible that's the top. It certainly is possible. Wouldn't that be just amazing? Just from the swing low of the start of the 1 through the 3 to the 4, we get an algo target, the market tops. Shit, man, anything's possible. I just want to make a point of showing you how incredibly technical this is, how algo-driven it is, and why you sure as hell wouldn't. Let me phrase it this way. I sure as hell wouldn't want to be trading blind to this algorithm. Right? You find yourself buying right into a target or selling right into a 50 or a 618. Not the way to do it, right? That's how people get just crushed in the market, because they don't know this is here, because they can't. No one's ever taught it to them. All right, guys, running along again. I was long-winded today. So let me, I'll wrap there. Just a reminder, again, right? You can always give us a visit. You can give us a visit on our public Discord. That's free. We got a couple thousand people in there. If you want to learn more about this, right? Well, you can always write us. Right? We respond to pretty much every email that we get. So we'll respond to you. If you have questions about it, you can try the public Discord. Or you can give us a try through the membership. All right, a lot of people, if you come in and you're very, very, very disciplined and you absorb the material and you work through it, you can be white belt, blue belt. We've got people going for purple belts now. So we've got, I look right over here, just last count, 42 white belts, and this is who's online right now. 42 white belts, 22 blue belts, 1 black belt. So people are making it through. Do I have any? I know I've got several testing for purple right now. Okay, guys, that's a wrap. This will be interesting to see. How we resolve. But wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that be interesting? Okay, guys, that's it for today.